Community Business Development Corporations, Business Financing Support and Advice. CBDC Business Startup Course, Lesson 11, Employment Law. Employment Law. Employment law deals with both the employer's and the employee's actions, rights, and responsibilities, as well as their relationship with one another. Discrimination, workplace safety and standards, and workers' compensation fall under employment law. Likewise, employee benefits, retirement and pensions, compensation, and much more are part of this broad legal area. Why should you care about employment law? As an employer, it is your responsibility to ensure your employees' rights under employment law are protected. It is also up to business leaders and managers to create a healthy work culture that encourages communication, ideas, growth, and work-life balance. Following employment law is a minimum requirement for cultivating an environment that fulfills, motivates, and inspires employees each and every day. If that's not reason enough, not knowing your legal obligations as an employer can cost you in other ways. The following facts speak for themselves. Hundreds of employment lawsuits are filed every day. The hourly rate for a lawyer to defend a lawsuit varies from $200 an hour for a junior lawyer to $600 an hour for senior counsel. Most employment lawsuits are won by the plaintiff. 1 in 5 employment law jury verdicts is for over $1 million. If you're audited or a complaint is filed against you under your Provincial Labor Standards Code, you may be ordered dating back several months, such as for unpaid vacation. In the case of an audit, pay could be ordered for a number of employees. This section provides information you need to fulfill the rights of your employees and protect your business. Federal and provincial legislation. Are you covered by federal or provincial legislation? If your company falls into one of the following sectors, you are most likely to be a federally regulated employer. Chartered banks, marine shipping, ferry and port services, transportation across provincial borders, airlines, telephone, telegraph and cable systems, radio and television broadcasting, uranium mining and processing, businesses dealing with protection of fisheries as a natural resource, First Nation activities, federal crown corporations, and all other employers are provincially regulated. Links to legislation. Follow the links in the PDF for this lesson to the legislation that applies to you and contact your provincial government if you are provincially regulated. Employment legislation for workers, employment legislation for unionized workers, human rights legislation, occupational health and safety legislation, and privacy legislation. Provincial Labor Standards Code. Provincial labor standards legislation sets out the minimum employment rules in your province that employers and employees have to follow. It also sets out rules specific to the recruitment of workers and the hiring of foreign workers. These rules include minimum standards for wages, deductions from pay, vacation pay, overtime pay, holidays with pay, leaves, ending employment, and other things. It is not legal for employers and employees to agree to terms, conditions, and benefits that offer less than the legislation offers. However, employers can give their employees greater benefits than those set out in the legislation. There are exemptions for certain kinds of work, exempting those individuals from the entire code or certain provisions of the code. For more information, check out the labor standards in your province. In addition, people might have recourse through the courts to deal with workplace issues. For example, an employee might file a court claim against his employer seeking damages for wrongful dismissal, or an employer might file a court claim against her employee to recover a debt the employee owes the employer. For more information about pursuing a claim through the courts, you may want to speak with a lawyer. Human rights. Your Provincial Human Rights Act applies to private businesses as well as the provincial government and all its departments and agencies. However, when doing business with the Government of Canada or with a business regulated by the federal government, your Provincial Human Rights Act does not apply. Instead, there is a Canadian law called the Canadian Human Rights Act that applies. Your Provincial Human Rights Act protects individuals from discrimination under characteristics like the following: age, race, color, religion, creed, ethnic, national, or aboriginal origin, sex, including pregnancy, sexual orientation, physical disability, mental disability, family status, marital status, source of income, irrational fear of contracting an illness or disease, association with protected groups or individuals, political belief, affiliation, or activity. Human rights acts can also prohibit harassment based on any of these characteristics and prohibits sexual harassment in all areas of public life. Human rights acts can also prohibit discrimination in several areas, including employment. For example, in refusing to hire, continue to employ, or promote a person, in the posting of a job advertisement, or the criteria used for hiring. It also prohibits harassment of individuals based on one of the 13 prohibited groups. Human rights acts can also protect equal pay for the same or similar work performed by males and females, prohibit individuals who can grant or deny benefit or advancement to another from engaging in unwelcome sexual solicitation with the person who is seeking or receiving the benefit, and protect individuals who have made complaints under the Act or who have assisted with the complaint process from retaliation. Contact your provincial government to find a copy of your Human Rights Act to determine what protections exist in your province. For more information about the federal Canadian Human Rights Act, visit the Canadian Human Rights Commission at www.chrc/ccdp.ca. If you are not sure which law applies, call the Canadian Human Rights Commission at 1-877-269-7699. Occupational health and safety legislation. Health and safety in the workplace is protected by Nova Scotia's Occupational Health and Safety Act and regulations. All employers in Nova Scotia or your province have a general duty to do all that is reasonable and practical to ensure the safety of workers and others who are present in the workplace. For quick reference access, the Small Business Safety Toolkit. The toolkit provides easy-to-use step-by-step guidelines and sample forms to identify hazards and develop a safety plan to keep everyone safe on the job. Workplace safety. Looking for quick information business owners need to know about workplace safety? Click at the link in the PDF for this lesson. Workers' compensation, or WorkSafe New Brunswick, or Workplace Newfoundland. Your Workers' Compensation Board or equivalent sets the standard for workplace injury insurance. They provide workplace injury insurance for employers representing workers across your province. Workers' Compensation works to inform and inspire Atlantic Canadians in the prevention of workplace injury. These organizations also support those whose lives are touched by workplace injury in the event it occurs and champions a timely return to safe and healthy work. The Workers' Compensation Act or equivalent in your province provides the legal framework for administration of the Workers' Compensation Board prevention, return to work, assessment, and compensation programs. Workers' compensation legislation is complemented by the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Contact your provincial government to learn more about the Occupational Health and Safety or click at the link in the PDF of this lesson. In conclusion, Lesson 11 of the CBDC Business Startup course has covered the topic employment law and touched on the subjects of why you should care about employment law, federal and provincial areas of responsibility, human rights, and occupational health and safety. The next lesson in this part of the course is Lesson 12, Compensation and Benefits.